Today, we celebrate the life of Moses, our beloved ministry horse. Moses was a beautiful and tall bay Oldenburg gelding. His previous job was in eventing, like dressage, show jumping, and cross country. After he sustained a suspensory injury and was no longer able to show, his owner donated him to a residential school for boys with challenges. While at that school, he re-injured himself because he was being used for cantering and jumping lessons. He would be limited in what he could do going forward after the second injury. The school did not have room for him to let him rest and heal, and needed to find a home ASAP or he would be sent to auction. The Powhatan Equine Rescue League, where we previously adopted Paxton, had rescued Moses from being sent to auction or potential slaughter and allowed him to rest and heal for 8 months. After the vet cleared him for light riding, they posted him on their Facebook page where we saw him, visited, and brought him home within a couple weeks. He settled into the herd well, is friendly to everyone, both 2- and 4-legged, and let his big personality shine. Moses proved to be a great addition to the ministry program as he carries riders of all sizes, calmly and securely during our sessions. Moses was not originally named Moses. In fact, his name was Stewie, a play on his registered Oldenburg name Catch-22. After a few months of getting to know him as Stewie, we wanted to find a Bible name for him relating to a Bible character who also found themselves in a Catch-22 situation. The definition of a Catch-22 is a dilemma or difficult circumstance from which there is no escape because of mutually conflicting or dependent conditions. In the book of Exodus, chapter 14, Moses was leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt during the Exodus. Did you know that experts estimate that was about 2.4 million people? Anyways, Moses found himself in a Catch-22. He had mountain ranges to the right and left, the Red Sea in front of him, and the Egyptian army behind. All his choices were bad. Moses could lead the people back to Egypt to return to slavery, lead them into the mountains that were essentially impassable, so they would be sitting ducks for the Egyptian army, or go forward into the Red Sea. The Israelites cried out to Moses, and he replied, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still." Moses then called on the Lord for help, and the Lord answered, "Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Moses called on God to provide a new option, a great and mighty solution to his Catch-22 situation, something that we in our human minds could not comprehend or think of, like parting the Red Sea in front of them and walking through. Moses was also in a Catch-22, our Moses that is, no longer able to perform his job as a show and then lesson horse. He didn't have any good options left. But God showed up and provided him the miraculous opportunity to become a ministry horse at the ranch. The lesson we hope our Moses will remind us of daily is that we can always call on God, and he will fight for us, and provide a great and mighty solution to our problems that we could not perceive or imagine. Moses was friends with the entire herd, but his best pal was Paxton, maybe from when they met at the Powhatan Equine Rescue League. Moses came home to Wings of Hope Ranch March of 2020, and he and Paxton reunited and rebonded immediately. At 17.3 hands, Mo was the largest of the herd and exhibited servant leader qualities. He didn't rush to the gate for meals. Instead, you'd find him standing back, waiting for everyone else to go first. During a Bible study, a volunteer pointed out that Moses was also very polite. Even if enjoying grass out in the field, he would raise his head and acknowledge when a guest walked by his pasture. Moses' last week with us included a lot of veterinary care to determine the cause of symptoms he was exhibiting. His emergency vet visit at the barn, medication, inpatient isolation stay, as well as his transport and burial came to $8,170. Moses' final test results showed that he was suffering from spinal meningitis with an unknown cause. While all treatment options were discussed, the surgeon at Woodside gave Moses a very somber prognosis. It was decided by the executive director team with agreement from the board of directors and on the advice of the veterinarian that Moses should be shown both mercy and love by choosing to humanely euthanize on January 18th. Moses was then brought home to be laid to rest alongside his former herdmates. For as difficult as it is when a herd member passes, we are reminded that each horse becomes a member of a much greater community, touching the hearts of everyone they come in contact with. They give love, confidence, and care both to the volunteers and the children. Many of our volunteers considered Moses their best pal and their personal heart horse. For example, Megan said, "I will miss him and his snuggles." Sharon shared, "I remember how excited we were the day this beautiful boy arrived at the ranch. He was such a regal, gentle giant. Rest easy, sweet boy." Anna sent this memory. "Moses, I will love you forever. Thank you for loving me. Run free in heaven, my friend." Wendy commented, "Moses was so big in so many ways, and not just physically as our largest horse. He was big on attitude, big on humorous actions, big on having his way, but most of all, big on love for all the ranchers he served. So many will miss you. Thank you for the joy you gave so many of us." Steve shared this story of his special friend. "One time at Miss Betty's, Moses came running up to me at the fence. He was making a whining noise. He turned sideways and there was a huge horsefly on him. I swatted it away and he stopped whining and went back out in the field." Allison from Powhatan Equine Rescue League told us she was praying for us during this difficult time. She said, "I remember when Donna and I first went out to meet Moses before he came into the rescue. I'm so glad after all he had been through that he ended up with you guys. He was a gentle giant." Elena shared this memory. "He was such a sweet and gentle soul. I never had the opportunity to be around horses growing up. My first time around horses was during a training to become a volunteer. The first horse I worked with was Mo, and I think he picked up on my anxiety by placing his head on my shoulder after a few minutes. I was instantly hooked. Thank you for all you taught me and for all the love you brought to everyone that ever worked with you." Anna shared this story with us. "One of the last times I brought Moses in for sessions, he was in the back part of the field grazing. I put his halter on and he yawned and sighed. I told him he only had to work for a little while, and he gave in and walked in with me, like, 'Okay, I'll do it.' I laughed so hard at his bossy self. Of course, I squeezed him and kissed him too. That's a given. I will miss that big, sweet boy. He was just so mad at me. I had to laugh. He secretly enjoyed it. Leading him in was always so easy, though. It never felt like I was leading a 1,000-plus-pound animal, but walking beside a friend who knew me." Wings of Hope Ranch is grateful to the volunteers who cared for Moses daily, his sponsor, and all the ranchers who spoiled him with lots of affection. While Moses' personal story and his relationship with all the adults and volunteers was so profound, perhaps the most important and touching role Moses played here at Wings of Hope Ranch was how he ministered to ranchers, the children who visit our facilities, who are facing challenges and need to be ministered to. The Kenzia family sent in this. "Sweet Moses, I teared up reading this post. Thank you for all you've done for our kids. Rest easy, sweet guy. Thank you to all the volunteers. What you do is so meaningful to the children and to the animals. Sending so much love and prayer." A rancher parent shared this memory. "I remember the day Conway chose Moses. I literally had to walk away so that my anxiety regarding his size didn't affect my boy. He continued to work with Moses and was fearless. His devotion and admiration shone through, and Moses never treated Conway with anything but gentleness and patience. Thank you to our gentle giant for loving Conway the way that he loved you. I remember seeing Moses online as available for adoption and insisted that we go visit him. We really needed a larger horse that could carry the larger kids. When we did get there, I was a little bit stunned by his height and size. He was big enough to step over most fences, but he was so gentle he would never do something like that. My favorite thing about Moses is that while he could accommodate any size rider, the smallest ranchers would be put on his back, so small that their legs would just stick out straight to the side. It probably felt like a fly on his back. Yet Moses was so gentle and patient, especially with the tiniest of ranchers. Each horse that finds their way home to Wings of Hope Ranch is living out their second chance. Through no fault of their own, they find themselves needing a second chance, a safe home, and through God's grace, Wings of Hope Ranch is able to become their home, where they live out their last days this side of heaven. Moses' Bible verse is Jeremiah 33:3. Call to me, and I will answer you. I'll tell you marvelous and wondrous things that you could never figure out on your own. The outpouring of love and sweet memories shared are a healing balm to our souls. Thank you for caring and sharing about our sweet Moses.